This segment is to discuss another type of asset which is increasingly digital, and which, if you are coming into a position where you're getting a divorce, or you're seeking support of some kind, or you have been named a conservator for a senior who likes to invest and is no longer able to tell you where everything is, you are going to want to hear about this. My name is Carla Hartley. I'm an attorney licensed to practice in Texas and California. And for the majority of my career, I have practiced solely in family law and the probate spaces. Now, let's talk about private equity investments. These are pre-initial public offering investments. You're going to get stocks out of it or something similar to that, but it's not going to be listed on the NASDAQ. It's not going to be listed on the Dow Jones. It's something that is going to be with the actual company itself. Some startup company. Imagine you invested in Microsoft or Amgen way back at the beginning when they were still in their garage, and you just threw $250 into it and later became a multimillionaire because you held on to that little private investment. That private investment stock becomes, at some point, with many of these companies, not all, I'm not telling you to go invest in this stuff, I'm telling you how to find what somebody else invested in. There's a big difference. Okay, so somebody thought, oh, hey, this is a really good idea to get into this particular private equity investment. And so they put, the minimum that is required. Now, how do you find this? Again, it's so easy with our online age. We have a number of platforms that you can go to, which are exchanges for private equity firms. One of these is republic.com. Another one is WeFunder, Equifund. These are very different and yet very similar platforms where private companies can go and say, hey, I'm going to offer shares. I'm going to offer them this amount, and I want you guys to consider offering them on your space. So what you do is you have to go through the know your client thing, and you've got to prove that you are able to invest in this class of shares, because there are limitations. You have to have, this much money coming in on a yearly basis, or you have to have, this much net worth in order to invest in this space. So your senior did this thinking, hey, this will make me big bucks later on when they eventually go public. Or your spouse just thought, yeah, I invested in that a couple of years ago. I'm going to wait a few years. And then after the divorce is over, I'll have real shares from it. This is significant because there is a very little known statute that for certain circumstances you can have those gains tax-free. That's what makes this really attractive. You get into the space before it goes public. You hold the stocks before they go public. This is part of the American commitment to small business, to development, to research, all that stuff that plays in here. You hold it for 5 years. At the end of 5 years, you've got something that has hopefully gone public, increased in value, and woohoo, you now have lots of money and you don't have to pay taxes on it. So I don't know if you have someone who's doing their own research, or if they're purchasing a publication that tells them what is a good investment or not, or if they're just like, hey, I think this would be a really good idea. That is going to fall into a whole different area of analysis when it comes time to look at, do you want these shares? But again, the first thing is you got to know they're out there, you got to know to look for them, and you got to find them. The thing that makes this a little more complicated is when, with some of these platforms, it doesn't show up as the money having gone to republic.com. It shows up as the money having gone into a specific investment or business. So you have got to have someone looking over your documents that knows what they're looking for and isn't just thinking, hey, that's, just another thing. For instance, I was involved in a case a couple of years ago where an opposing party was having all of these expenses to a particular item or a particular vendor, and he was saying they were business expenses. Well, one of the members of my staff happened to know that this was all firearms. These were all firearms purchases. They were firearms parts. They were firearms. It was all a gun maker, a couple of different gun makers. And it didn't come across on the bank statement as arms or armor or anything like that. It came across with the name of the vendor. It's not exactly as lukewarm as seeing, your local coffee shop repeatedly on your bank statement, but it's one of those recurring things, and you look it up and you go, hey, this guy's put a lot of money into this particular, in that instance, collection of concerning firearms. So that was opposing party, by the way, not us. We found it. We didn't do it. And it was a long time ago. So let's be really clear on that. This is the kind of example I want to make for you, though. You've got to know what you're looking for. You've got to have someone who is familiar with the financial spaces. If you have any kind of sophisticated or shady sophisticated or even a wannabe sophisticated investor on the other side of your case. There's just no other way to say it. There are too many ways to hide income. There are too many ways to hide assets. They're all digital, but thanks to what we've recently seen in these spaces with the Know Your Investor and the Know Your Client, it's got to come from somewhere. You just have to recognize it. You have to hire someone who can recognize it when they see it on the statement. It can come from a credit card, can come from a bank account, but they need to know what they're looking for. I'm Carla Hartley. I hope this has been helpful.